Hello, I'm Dr. Steve, and I want to thank you for taking the time to view this short video on basic organizational structures. Before we look at the basic forms of organizational structure, let's look at what organizational structures are all about. First, they indicate the various reporting levels within an organization, or, as it is commonly called, the chain of command. It identifies each job and where it fits in the bigger scheme of the company, as well as showing who reports to who and who supervises who. Second, they demonstrate the levels of responsibility within a company. For example, the CEO of a company has far more responsibility than a mid-level manager or a supervisor. Lastly, organizational structures do not necessarily indicate the decision points that exist within a company. For example, a single employee or team of employees may make decisions on the design of a product or the disbursement of budgeted funds. There are four major reasons why companies need an organizational structure. First of all, to implement and manage their strategies. Corporate strategies are the responsibility of the CEO, or owner of the company. Once formulated, it is the responsibility of the various reporting levels to support and implement those strategies throughout their organizations. Secondly, organizational structure promotes communication. Understanding the various levels within an organization provides the necessary roadmap needed to target the appropriate person or organization to communicate with. For example, having an important piece of information on a competitor's action may need to be shared with a high-level manager in marketing, but not with somebody in finance. A well-defined organizational structure identifies that person or group. Thirdly, to define the chain of command. Understanding who reports to who provides the scope of authority with each position in the structure. A clear understanding of each person's scope provides and publishes the authoritative boundaries that go with their position. And finally, to show employees how to advance their careers. Every employee has the opportunity to grow in the company by aspiring to climb to the next organizational level. When an organizational structure includes detailed job descriptions, employees can identify those areas in their skills where improvements need to be realized to meet the qualifications for advancement to the next level. All companies evolve and grow according to very predictable patterns. As the volume of business reaches a level that is difficult for a company to sustain, they add to their existing workforce and expand their expertise by including new functions. In response to this growth, a different organizational structure may be deployed or the existing one expanded. As a company's market share increases, they expand into more geographical locations, which require more employees and changes to the organizational structure. When companies reach a point where they have well-established supply chains and a competitive advantage within their markets, functions that are performed by other companies within the supply chain are integrated into the company. These companies are acquired by mergers or other forms of acquisition and are called vertical integration. When a company needs to increase capacity, they may acquire other companies that produce similar products or services and convert them to meet the needs of their capacity. This is called horizontal integration. Including these acquired businesses into the company structure often requires a major overhaul of the existing structure. The final stage is when companies reach the point that competitive advantage cannot be sustained by remaining in the same industry or market. The only way to sustain growth is to expand into other markets through diversification. As companies progress through these evolutionary stages, the organizational structures tend to evolve from very loose, such as flat or flatarchy, to very rigid, such as functional. While the structure selected for each stage is very much dependent on the industry and management style, the basic trends remain the same. The first organizational structure we will look at is the functional or hierarchy organizational design. This structure divides the company into organizations which are based on the function that each organization provides. For example, a functional structure may consist of a finance organization, engineering organization, operations organization, marketing, and customer service organizations. Each of these organizations perform tasks that are specific to the function of that organization. Engineering would be responsible for designing products and services, while a finance organization would be responsible for tracking the finances associated with those products and services. Employees who report to each of these functions are classified according to their skills and the supervisor to whom they report. Functional departments are often referred to as silos because they have specific boundaries in the work that they perform. In many companies, organizations do not communicate well with other organizations, and so there is a lack of cross-pollination of knowledge and understanding between organizations. This type of organization is very well suited to businesses like manufacturing, which require precise policies and procedures and are often medium to very large in size. A divisional organizational structure is very much like a functional structure, except that the major divisions in the company are not based on function, but rather on product or process. Under each product or process, there is a structure that resembles the functional structure. For example, the Boeing Company has several divisions. One of those is the Commercial Airplane Division. This division has a company president, levels of functional vice presidents, functional directors, and functional managers. The president of the Commercial Airplanes Division reports directly to the CEO of the company. This structure allows the company to participate in several different markets, such as commercial airplanes, defense, space and security, and global services, while still being under the control of the CEO. Each division's president has anonymity to their markets, strategies, and goals. This type of structure works well with very large companies who have products that are dissimilar and compete in markets that require flexibility as well as satisfying strict customer requirements. The matrix organizational structure came about in response to very large and fast-moving projects that appeared in the aerospace industry. These projects were very complex and required at least two kinds of organizational structure to be combined in the matrix structure. While there needed to be a functional organization of tasks that are performed, the project itself needed to be controlled by a project manager who coordinated all the tasks. To facilitate this situation, the matrix organizational structure was created. The structure is based on projects rather than functions. For example, Project A, which may be any large project, would require that the finance, engineering, operations, marketing, and customer service functions all be involved with that project. At the same time, there might be a Project B, Project C, and Project D that all require the same functions. This would be difficult to manage with a functional or divisional structure. To solve this problem requires that employees report to two different chains of command. For example, in Project A, there would be an engineering team that would report to the engineering functional organization, like in a functional structure, while at the same time reporting to the project manager or team leader for the project. While this is a very good structure to use with multiple complex projects that require several organizations to be involved, there are problems with this structure because direction is now being given from two different organizations. An engineer, for example, would have to report to his functional manager to receive engineering direction while also reporting to the project manager to receive directions from the project. This, of course, can present many problems in determining which direction to follow when the two are in conflict. A Flatarchy organizational structure combines the rigidity of a functional structure with the flexibility of a flat structure. In most cases, the structure is functional at the executive and director levels and then becomes more loosely structured with ad hoc teams that are formed to work on a specific project or function and then disbanded. These teams are comprised of employees from multiple functions and are appointed or approved by their functional directors. Employees may work on multiple teams but still report to their functional manager. This is a good structure for use in industries that would require high-speed flexibility but rigid compliance to rules and norms. An example might be in the advertising and marketing industries. The Holacracy organizational structure is an extremely loose structure where, except for the CEO, there are no permanent managerial positions, and teams or circles are self-formed to address specific needs. These needs may be product-related or managerial in nature. Individual functional teams interact with each other to work on specific projects or circles. Each circle of teams is responsible for all phases of the project, from inception to completion, and once all the goals have been met, the teams often disband and the members form other teams or circles. This is a great structure for industries that rely on creativity and are not tightly controlled, such as the clothing design industry. If you have any questions about organizational structure, please post them in the course questions on the main content page.